gotta give it permission now.
Hey, Mar. Hello. Grant.
Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Happy early morning, Shannon, to you. My goodness.
Oh, yeah. I was like a kid in the candy stores where like waiting for Disneyland to open. Like I've been up for hours. It's crazy. So I was like, I get to talk to Jaimie. I usually just wait a couple minutes for folks to join, and then we do a little meet your lane mates, kind of break out a little bit.
Hey, Graham.
Hey, Jaimie, how's it going?
Oh my God, it's been too long, my friend.
I know, it's been far too long.
I wish we were like on the banks of the Thames, maybe having some barbecue. What do you think?
Yeah, or swimming around Manhattan, one of the two. How are you keeping over that side of the world?
That's all right. We're healthy. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So,
Oh, you guys got to swim in. Audra's swimming too.
yeah, I got her in the river yesterday or 2 days ago. So she's bored of being in a kayak for 10 hours at a time. So.
So you got
Someone here can relate, I think.
The leg gets tired after a while.
Whoa.
I bought myself a paddle board as well, which arrived today. So I've got to go out on that later on. So.
New choice.
So she can choose now whether she goes paddleboarding or kayaking next to me.
Good to have options.
I feel like this is Romper Room. I see Elaine and
Marlies, did you find any sturgeon the other night when you were looking?
No, but it was slightly creepy.
I bet.
And then a friend of mine, in a really disappointing way, told me she saw one in the middle of the day.
Ah.
So my search is not over.
The search for the sturgeon. I think that's worthy of a memoir or something.
That's a nice close-up.
I just see the top of your head.
Yeah, Janine usually gives us the top of her head. There she goes.
I like to make sure you
very
get
good at
all the
selfies.
wrinkles. You wearing zinc, Jaimie? You look a little pale.
I've been inside, Janine. I don't know.
Jaimie always looks like that.
I know she
Always
does.
pale.
And
They
I
say,
always look overly tan.
They say vitamin D is very good for your immune system, though. So it's ironic that we're all staying inside during this situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of us are not staying inside.
Especially in the UK, we've had the best weather for the last 2-3 weeks. And everyone's had to stay inside.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And I'm coming to the land of inside next week, so.
Yay!
Safe
Well, yay for
journeys.
us. Who for you, maybe?
It's a little of both. I'm happy to come. I'm a little sad to leave the land of I'm allowed to roam free.
Yeah. I'm surprised they won't cut you a break, though. But out in the Hamptons, like it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for the summer. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I think we're looking for a lake house for like probably 2 weeks. My sister and the kids and the dog. So.
You got plenty of ideas on your post.
Yeah. And some of there's some nice ones. The thing I can't get a handle on, New York looks to be open in that in the Finger Lakes. Does anybody have any read on Pennsylvania and whether or not that's open to renters?
I don't know. Blue Marsh
Not
Lake.
really.
You could ask Louise Darlington about that. I'm not less familiar because I
No,
don't.
no, I don't
Oh.
care about the lake as much as are you allowed to rent houses?
He's
I can-
renting it out right now.
Oh, I
That's,
don't know.
some places are not allowing short-term rentals. That's the catch. All right,
Janine, Arik said his colleague is renting a place out there.
where?
So, where?
I don't know exactly, Janine. It's somewhere on a ski slope. And it's like a he's out there
That's
for
less
2 or
than
3
helpful,
months.
but thank you, Eric.
Probably the Poconos.
That's what I was trying to get a handle on. Is the Poconos open for business?
Janine, I'll find out for you.
All right, Judy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Judy. All right, let's do a little bit of
What about me?
meet your lane mates. And what was my topic going to be for today? What keeps you up at night? That's our topic. What keeps you up at night? And we'll come back at 1:45 and talk to Jaimie. Ready, set, go. Yeah, I imagine so. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna start reeling him back in.
Oh, good. I'm here. I'm glad I got to chat with you for a minute.
A second.
I got to meet my lane mate.
Yeah. Bridget, I messed with you today. How are you? Oh, Bridget, she was in a room and then I moved her to another room and first she couldn't get into the meeting.
I didn't know where I was.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
It'll be
even
okay.
better.
I have a little
I'm
bit
just
too much
glad I made
power,
it.
like moving people around. So,
I think that's
You're
how I
ruthless,
actually feel right now. I don't really know where I am, so it's fine if it happens.
just throw people in
On the
rooms,
screen.
places.
So you've given up swimming for chess, and we're all your little pawns.
Yeah, there you go.
Marathon swimming ponds.
Which of us are kings and queens and bishops and all that? if we're talking about chess.
Yep. Yeah, Shannon, the chess master here.
I don't know about that.
Hold on.
Right, we're back.
Jaimie will be queen today.
There you go.
All right, everybody back. Lovely. I hope you had a nice little chat. I'm going to do, because sometimes I forget till the very end and some people have dropped off. We're going to do our screenshot first. Mark, do you want to turn your camera on? And Paula, if you want to, we'd love to see your beautiful faces.
I'm trying to turn it on.
Paula's. The other thing I'll mention before we get started talking to Jaimie is I am going to mute you. I've had some feedback from people who listen in to the recordings that that sometimes someone will clear their throat and it cuts over. So I'm going to mute everybody while we talk to Jaimie. If you want to come in and say something, I do want you to feel like you could talk. I just don't want to get the clearing throats and moving your keyboard around. So you'll have to come off mute if you want to ask some additional questions. So
There's also
All right.
the chat. There's also the chat, Shannon, if people
Yes,
want
you
to
can
actually ask questions in the chat.
right, absolutely. And I'm just not fantastic about keeping an eye on it. I'm working on that though. It distracts me from listening. But okay, we're gonna do our screenshot. So 1, 2, 3, everybody, well, wave, whatever you want to do. All right, you all. I don't always remember my introductions either, but I'll just say I'm Shannon Keegan. I love seeing you all here. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. This makes my day. As I mentioned early on, I've been up for hours because I'm like a kid waiting for Disneyland to open. So, so let's talk to Jaimie. Can you tell us? I know you have an amazing resume, Jaimie, but I just want to hear you tell us about you from your perspective.
Yeah, and first off, Shannon, thank you so much for having me. This is one of my favorite meetings just because it's very interactive and I love the breakout sessions. Just looking over the names, I know most of you guys, and I've met a lot in person, which is so awesome. But for just about me, my name is Jaimie Monahan. I'm from New York City. My big passion is travel as well as swimming. So I've done long swims all over the world. And the other thing is, I know you guys have had a couple of ice swimmers as well. So I also specialize in ice swimming and winter swimming, and really just enjoy every kind of temperature of water. I'm not one of those folks who say they don't like warm water. I love it too. Yeah, but those are my passions. And, aside from that, I work for an investment bank. I actually just started a new job a couple months ago after 12 years with a management consulting firm. I work in campus recruiting, and I work with college students. So that's another passion for me, just kind of staying energized with all their youth and enthusiasm. And it's been a little challenging the past couple of months, but very rewarding, just because for these new grads especially, there's a lot of ambiguity, and these are challenging times for them. So I've really, it's been difficult, but it's been great to kind of lead them through that right now. So that's kind of what's going on for me right now, and my background in swimming. And yeah.
That's awesome. I love that you can kind of like tap that youth. That sounds really exciting. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of got started swimming. We'll start with just swimming.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the typical story of, the parents wanted something for us to do in the summer, so they would take us to the pool club. I was definitely not an athletic person growing up at all. I definitely preferred to read and lay in the shade. I know most of you guys will be surprised I wasn't in the sun. I don't know. But yeah, after, a while, I started getting involved as a little kid, like the 8 and unders age group, then segueing to year-round swimming. I was able to swim in college, which was great. And then I worked on Wall Street for many years, so kind of took a break, which is, I think, common for a lot of former swimmers. But yeah, when I was a pool swimmer, I was a butterflyer and an IMer. The longer the better. Although I think looking at that, just like the 1650 was like unfathomably long and grueling. So I think if I had been a distance swimmer, it might have put me off these types of marathons. So. And the thing that got me into marathon swimming, I actually started to do triathlons when I was in my late 20s. And my very first one was the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon, which just got me hooked. Like, it was in a wetsuit, but you see the city and you're in this amazing water and, surrounded by other people. So that was really great. But yeah, and have kind of been marathon swimming and enjoying it ever since.
What was it that kind of hooked you on marathon swims? Like what? Like, is it something about? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's like the combination of like the scenery and the feeling of the water. Like, it's just such a familiar, I think all of you guys on the line will probably echo this. It's just a familiar sensation to be in the water. You feel very supported, and seeing beautiful things. And, the nice thing is, as opposed to pool swimming, is you can breathe whenever you want, which is a major bonus of marathon swimming.
Interesting perspective. How do you describe that feeling of completing a marathon swim?
That's like a good question. And it's funny for me, especially after a long swim, it's sometimes the last 10% is like the hardest part, because you're mentally transitioning from being in the moment to kind of like anticipating being done. And it's such a great feeling when your hand kind of touches solid ground and you start to walk up. And that's such a great feeling, but it's kind of like switching from being very much in the moment, not really having any cares, to kind of like, okay, got to get dried off, got to repack the bag, so it's kind of like coming back to life. So it's really thrilling in terms of the sense of being done and feeling accomplished, but also kind of transitioning back to the real world is a bit harder.
That's a good way to put it. I love that. Do you have any DNFs on your record? Is there anything you haven't finished?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had situations where, like Alcatraz swims where, we've gotten repositioned. For me, the most important thing is always to just, trust the judgment of the team. If someone says get on the boat, you don't argue, you just go. So yeah, I've definitely had several, and, it happens. It's just part of, again, and it's one of those things that gives you life skills, because getting comfortable and flexible with ambiguity, you get in the water, anything can happen. So just making the most of it is really important.
Any particular learning experiences from any of those situations that you'd care to share?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like there's, anything particularly devastating. I know sometimes it can be such a downer. I try to always have something on my plate. So even if it doesn't work out with one particular swim, you can try again next time, or there's something on the horizon to look forward to.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. What's the swim that you're most proud of?
Yeah, it's funny. That was another really good question that I thought of and had a couple different answers. But for me, it's maybe not even like the longest swim or the most challenging swim or the coldest swim. I would say just anything where I was able to continue after I kind of hit a rough spot and push on. I think those are the most valuable learning experiences, because one of the biggest things I would say about marathon swimming is it can change. So you may be humming along, everything is great, you're in that amazing flow state, everything is beautiful. And then, the wind picks up and kite surfers are, in your way, and you're kind of like getting nervous about getting hit by, a kite surfing school. So, but same thing, when you're going through that, you just have to kind of trust your team, and, it can change again. So, after an hour, the landscape can be totally different. So.
How do you mentally kind of adapt to those changing situations?
Well, in the pre-times, I do a lot of vinyasa yoga, and for me, kind of doing yoga is just showing up to the mat. That's why I don't have as much of a self-led practice, is because one thing for me is just to kind of listen to what the instructor is saying and go with whatever they tell me. So, in a way, marathon swimming is similar. You kind of just trust in the process, breathe through it, and, there's usually nothing that you can't handle. So.
How do you handle like when the situation maybe gets really hard, or yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it probably would be a mix of both physical and mental. Mental, kind of just reminding myself I've been through this, the moments pass when they're, the good moments and the bad moments change and they pass. Physically, just in terms of adapting a stroke, for me, I breathe both sides. So if a wave is coming and hitting on my face, I'll kind of breathe to one side or lengthen my stroke or shorten it. So kind of just adjusting both physically and mentally.
That's great advice. Tell us a little bit about the kind of the quarantine period. How's that going for you?
I always say, I think people ask you how you are, and I'm like, we're healthy, we're safe, that's all you can say. Of course, it's challenging. Like Elaine said, we want to do everything we can to protect other people. So it's not so much the inconvenience of being indoors. For me, it's been challenging when I do go out, sometimes to see people. I would say in general, New Yorkers have been amazing and so sensible, but sometimes when you see people with the mask around their face or they're jogging with it, without it on. I saw a funny little meme where it was kind of classifying all the people who were wearing their masks wrong. So you have like the chin strap, you have the crumpled up in the pocket. So I kind of, as I was going through, I would look at people and think of them almost like penguins. So if they have their mask around their throat, they're a chin strap penguin. If they don't have one on, it's crumpled in their pocket, they're a crumpled penguin. And people who do the right thing and wear it properly, they are the emperor penguins, because they're doing the right thing and they rock. So so just like, it sounds cheesy, but some of those weird little tricks, and again, just breathing through anything stressful that comes up. For me, probably the hardest to deal with is like the monotony. Like, my passion is travel, seeing different situations. Here in New York, we have so many amazing events on any given night. So kind of just really being focused on work and maybe a walk after work when we get the chance. It's, it narrows your life down more than I ever have had in my life. So yeah, but again, we're healthy, we're safe. I think things seem to be improving. So just may that continue.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. Is there like a biggest disappointment? And we all have acres of disappointments this year, but is there one that you're just like, oh, that one really hurts, really burns? A plan for this year?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, no, and I totally empathize with everyone who's in this situation. But again, like, the swims will be there. We just got to stick together. It is funny, like, when you kind of see events getting canceled, but of course we have to support the event organizers, and everybody's doing the things that are best for them.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us about your favorite place to swim.
I have a couple, and obviously being in New York City, in Manhattan, we're very blessed to have Brighton Beach out in Brooklyn. It's really stunning. If you haven't been yet, please come and swim with us. Open invite to everybody on the line. It's kind of like this old-fashioned amusement park, and we kind of are swimming against the backdrop of the Steeplechase Pier and a amazing Ferris wheel that just celebrated its 100th anniversary actually last weekend. So sadly that we couldn't celebrate by riding it, but hopefully we'll be on it in the 100th year. The other thing for me is, with my passion for ice swimming, anywhere where I can swim with ice formations like icebergs is so special. And, they almost change the air around them. You can kind of feel it. It's an actual sensation. So between the cold water and just this amazing, you really feel like you're in the presence of majesty, and that makes the whole experience even more amazing.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. I did want to touch a little bit on that. Can you tell us about when you discovered kind of the cold water and then ice swimming? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so this was totally by accident, and I think I thought I was a cold water swimmer until until I kind of discovered ice and winter swimming. Just kind of doing events in the kind of 50 degrees or 10 degrees Celsius range. But yeah, it was actually on the English Channel Swimmers group. I had been planning a vacation to Finland to see the Northern Lights with my partner, Arik, who I think a lot of you guys know. But we were kind of going to be flying into Helsinki, and we were going up to this resort in Finnish Lapland where they have glass igloos. And just kind of serendipitously, we got this email about the World Winter Swimming Championships in Rovaniemi, Finland in 2014. And this was a few months out, and I was like, all right, this is almost like equidistant between kind of seeing friends in Helsinki and then kind of the Northern Lights adventure. I think it's meant to be. So started training throughout the winter at Brighton Beach, and just loving it. And then when we arrived in Rovaniemi, which was really bizarre because it's like the home of Santa Claus. So in addition to all the international winter swimmers that were there from all the different countries, you have these Santas like all over the place, which for me, I don't know, I found it, it was definitely a unique experience, but kind of from there I was hooked. I met tons of people, got invited to different events around the world, and since then it's definitely a community and something that I have a passion for. So and with the winter swimming, I've been able to build up to an ice mile. And have done a bunch of ice miles around the world too, which is not as much of a social experience usually, but it's a really good personal challenge, and again brings me to some amazing places to see.
Yeah, I love that theme. That's kind of runs through when you talk to people about their favorite things. It's like that I get to travel. That's such an amazing part of the sport. Can you tell us about a favorite event, ice or marathon? Like, what's your it's been the best event for you ever?
Yeah, my personal favorite, again, for a lot of you guys, I don't think you'll be surprised by this. So we have an amazing local event called the Rose Pit and Off Swim, which kind of goes down the East River and to Brooklyn. So it kind of starts off across the island from where I personally live. You're kind of coming down under these amazing bridges, the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge. It's so stunning. You can kind of get some of the best parts of the downtown New York City landscape. You're passing by the Freedom Tower, the Statue of Liberty, and then it's about 17 miles, but it's very much with the current, and organizers plan it really well each year. So it's, not one of those super grueling, like fighting the current, except at the very beginning types of swims. And then we finish at Coney Island, which is our training place. Which is so much fun. So, there's always a great party afterwards, and I've actually done it every year, except for 1 year that it's been held. So
that's awesome.
So TBD if it will happen this year. I'm kind of hoping, but again, like whatever they decide to go with,
Yeah, that's awesome. So I like to throw this one out there just because it's kind of interesting to think about. But what do you consider yourself, a process or an outcome person?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would definitely say I'm very outcome oriented, but I do, we're not doing this because we're getting paid. So the process is really important. for me, of course, I think when people are embarking on these huge marathon swims, I always wish that they're, safe, successful, and then have an enjoyable swim, kind of in that order, because I think most people, of course, safety is the absolute minimum, must have type of thing. Then I think, if it's successful, sometimes the more difficult or challenging parts can be overlooked. And then again, we swim because it's enjoyable. We get to see the world. We love the feel of the water. So I would probably rank it in that order. So for me, outcome is important. But, that being said, in terms of the process, kind of doing everything you need to do safety-wise, adhering to doing the right thing kind of in everything that you're organizing, and especially as you're organizing your own swims, I think that's really important as well. So.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll ask you there's a couple questions in the chat, but two last questions we'll save, but let me go through some of the questions in the chat. So there was, have you ever swam a marathon without Arik? From Janine.
Oh yeah. I've done a few. One of the things, actually, it's funny because I kind of prioritize. That's a good question, Janine. But I kind of prioritize with swims, like for anything really long, I do like to have him there to apply sunscreen, to kind of keep me motivated and happy. With my ice miles as well, like I want somebody on the boat that I can completely trust. So that's important for me. And then shorter swims or shorter marathon swims, basically if I can take care of my own sunscreen, I'm okay with that. I definitely prefer to have him there, but I do function on my own.
And then how about your favorite animal/mammal seen while swimming?
Oh,
does it have to be
swimming? Well,
I was going to say, Janine, does it have to be a mammal, or could it? Because I think in the ice, you're probably not seeing maybe mammals all the time.
I did see, well, I didn't see them. They were behind me one time when I was swimming. I did see some penguins, real ones, not the human penguins. And then actually, we were doing a loop around Manhattan last year, and there was actually a turtle in the East River, kind of in the Hudson Harbor. So that was probably really surprising. It's not a mammal. I don't know if I've ever seen a mammal in the water, but but that was probably one of my favorites, just because, not just because it's great to see, but also of what it signifies in terms of our waters getting cleaner.
Yeah, that's very cool. Let's see. Diane asked, you mentioned yoga. What are some of the key ways it benefits your swimming, both physical and mental?
Yeah, again, like I think just in terms of flexibility, not doing something that's super high impact, but it's very strength based. And then mentally, like I said, just kind of following whatever happens and kind of holding your body in different positions. Like with swimming, it's very repetitive. It may not be the most exciting thing, but kind of doing that. And then the flexibility mentally and, physically is really important. So good question, Diane.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a fan of yoga and swimming, and I think it's a beautiful combination myself. What about aspiring marathon swimmers or ice swimmers? What would tips and wisdom would you have for someone aspiring?
Yeah, I would say for both, do as much research as you can. With me, when I started winter swimming, I would pour over YouTube videos to kind of look at what the start looks like, what are people doing when, kind of just reading up on everything so much. And then we're so lucky. I think everybody on the line today has so much they can share and, learning from each other. But when I was a total newbie, just kind of reading through documents, looking at people's Facebook pages, even if I didn't know them, that's why it's really important for me to kind of keep mine very open, because that was one of the major ways I learned from more experienced marathon swimmers when I was just starting to swim. I would say with ice swimming as well, take it really gradually, and everybody is so different. Don't assume just because you did a kilometer at a certain temperature last week that you can do it again. It's very different from day to day. So the main thing that you should learn is kind of how to listen to your body. I've pulled myself out of a 200-meter swim if I'm not feeling it right, you know, even if I had done colder and longer and felt fine. And I think just erring with marathon swimming and also with ice swimming, erring on the side of caution. If it ever doesn't feel right, don't push it. It's not a good idea. So
that's great advice. Very great advice. I do want to open the floor just if other people have questions, but before we do that, who should be a future guest on Marathon Swim Stories?
I'm gonna have to send you a list because one thing I love that we've recently opened up to kind of England and Europe. I think it would be so cool if by the end of this series, you know, you have somebody, a marathon swimmer from almost every continent. So I'm gonna send you a laundry list. And
All right.
you know, if you guys are looking for format suggestions as this evolves and, you know, people are returning to work, I always thought it would be so cool to have like come as your favorite historical marathon swimmer from the past and almost have like a dinner party and breakout chats kind of talking about them and, you know, maybe even interacting as that person. So maybe an idea for a future session.
That sounds like
but
a
I'll
lot of
definitely
fun.
send you a list. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I am looking for format options. I think I mentioned in previous videos, but I'm starting a kind of a podcast version, and Graham's going to be one of my first podcast guests, and I have Sarah Thomas online for next week for a podcast guest, and so we're going to take the audio from these meetings, and that'll be part of the podcast as well as one-on-one interviews. So I'm really excited about having that as something people can subscribe to and get listen to whenever they can. But I also love the idea of making this fun and doing some other cool events. So I appreciate any and all suggestions that anyone has. So thank you for that. Anybody have questions that they want to bring up to Jaimie? Totally come off mute and ask anything that you want. This is your chance.
Yeah, Jaimie, what was the name of that swim you were describing, the 17-mile current through New York?
Yeah, and message me later on if you don't jot it down. There's a lot of different spellings, but it's called the Rose Pitnoff swim. And the event organizers are called Urban Swim, so urbanswim.net. But highly recommend. That would be so cool if you could come to New York and we could swim together. Like I said, I'll almost certainly be there if they put it on. So would love to have you come.
Thanks.
That's
So
gonna go
I have
in
a
my
question,
bucket.
Jaimie. Do you have a choice? 25 meters in the frozen ice in Sweden, butterfly, or a marathon swim? Which do you choose?
It depends on the day. And Mark, is that you?
Yeah.
I figured. I just see your silhouette, but
I know. I'm just trying
see your
to.
flat like.
Exactly.
I figure that might be you too, also with the Sweden ice swimming reference.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it depends on the day. And for me, it would be really hard to choose one or the other forever. So I feel really fortunate that I have the option to do both.
Good skills to have. Were there other questions for Jaimie?
I saw Diane, I think.
Yeah, did you have a question?
Was that your question, Diane?
Oh, I think you're on mute,
She
Diane.
might still be on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh. Try again, Diane, one more time.
Yeah, so I just wanted to tell that was wonderful because I am an aspiring marathon swimmer, and your advice is so on target, especially the idea that you can have a real, you can be like when I would swim a 5-mile swim and then there was this half-mile swim somewhere in the same year where I was having the worst kind of time in a current that I was fighting, and I was so unhappy with myself at that time because I was saying, how could I do this and not do this? And I was I was totally doubting myself. But then more and more I'm aware that swimming at open water is a whole other kettle of fish, if pardon the expression. I was a runner, and with running, you know pretty much what you're going to be able to do. Not with swimming always. And so that comment was so on target for my experience. So thank you. So now I'll mute myself.
Of course, no. No, I love that, and I'm glad that resonated with you. And I will say some of my harder swims have been the shorter ones. It's not necessarily the ones that were super long. So, and anything with adverse current is always mentally challenging for me. So I'm with you.
Any other questions for Jaimie? Last chance? All right. Well, I just want to be respectful of everyone's time and say thank you again for being here. Next week, we have Michelle Macy on Tuesday and Lynn Cox on Thursday. So do your homework, read Swimming to Antarctica and Swimming in the Sink, and come on Tuesday and Thursday next week.